just share what I hope is the right screen. So what screen's all over the place at the moment on your computer. If you could please tell me, Lloyd, if I've got my Kiwi US dollar monthly chart up, that would be awesome.
Yep, it's your chart.
Thank you, mate. Okay, so my turn. And at this time, of course, I look at what my technical eyes are telling me. And my technical eyes are telling me that on Kiwi US dollar at the moment, we have an interesting scenario. I'm looking at the monthly chart, and the monthly chart is pretty clear to me that we have broken a previous resistance level. We've now come back and retested that level, and we've also gone into a range since that was the case. That's a monthly chart, of course, I'm looking at. I've now been presented at the bottom of that range with a key reversal bar, what I call a key reversal bar. Okay, it's got a red body, but that just makes it sweeter for me because I like to have candles that are going in the opposite direction, or at least their body's going in the opposite direction to which I wish to trade. Got a monthly pivot sitting up here that is pretty clear and hasn't really been tested. It is the top of the range that I see immediately, and we've got tomorrow's weekly pivot sitting at a strategic key level. So I'm expecting this to go long sometime this week. Trading it, of course, or where we get into the market is key. Weekly pivot disappears tomorrow, comes down to here, as I said. What I would probably like to see here is a pretty clear higher low. That may be it. I wouldn't be trading that candle because I don't like it, but I'd much prefer to see something on a daily chart come down to here, give us a retest. Sorry, not a retest, but give us a low test bar. And then I could trade that long. There may be a break of a resistance trend line here as well and a retest. That would be pretty cool also. Any one of those combinations would work for me. We're starting to get higher highs and lows on the 4-hour time frame. As I say, a pullback and a higher low in here does get me interested, or so does a break of resistance on Kiwi US dollar. Pretty keen on that. Looks good. Still on the Kiwi, but this time against the Swissy. And this one also interesting from a majorly, I guess, bullish point of view from my perspective. Reason? Well, we have broken a long-term support and resistance area here. That coincides pretty much with tomorrow's weekly pivot and around about 64 handle, 0.64 handle. If I go a little bit tighter on that chart, you can see that that trend line that was broken has now been retested and rejected, as has tomorrow's weekly pivot. Not sure that that's a key indicator, but also if you fancy this, as probably Ash would, and if Ash was in tomorrow in our show, Trading Buddies, I would probably be looking for this. His opinion on this is that a right shoulder on a potential head and shoulders reversal pattern. That's the monthly chart, of course, but the weekly chart is telling me that this range, again, we've got a range up the top here. We've come off the bottom of it. We believe, or I believe, that the next move here is up to where? Great question. I have no idea at this point, except to say that it probably will certainly retest that level, in my opinion, but maybe even retest the highs here. Any higher low in this vicinity does look good to me, exactly what I've just said pretty much on the Kiwi versus the US dollar. So it's pretty much the same thing, maybe even the same trade, but keep your eye on that one. I think the nice little double bottom there, we're screaming out for a higher low here to trade long. Cable, I agree with on his analysis of the pound versus the Aussie, but versus the US dollar, and I'm not a US dollar fan, of course, but the major thing I see on this chart is this massive double bottom here. And it's super clear. You can't mistake that. That's a double bottom. And we have, it wouldn't surprise me in the least if we have a range here for the next 100 years. Not 100 years, but quite some time. And I think we've hit the top of that range, which really means I'm looking for a lower high in here somewhere. But at the very moment, I see a rejection of this level here, which has, of course, been rejected before. But more than that, I see a potential range forming in here on pound US dollar. And if that's the case, then this is probably going long before it goes short and maybe even to retest the highs. If I go to the daily chart, it's showing me a pretty clear false break, if you like, or fake out, call it what you want, of that level there, 137.56, as I've got it on my chart. We've broken back into it. We've retested it. And I think there's potentially an entry there for you on the daily chart tomorrow morning. Caveat, as is always the case coming out of a weekend, if we've got a gap in the market, forget what I just said completely until that gap no longer is a play or a factor. But even now, if there was no Monday morning tomorrow and no potential gap, I would certainly be looking to trade this long above that bar right there, and I'd put my stop loss below it. I think that's a pretty strong indicator that this market, to me, that this market is going long for, well, maybe only a short period of time, as I said, but maybe up to this level here around about the 139 mark. So that will be my target for the week coming up on pound US dollar. You may be able to pick that up against the euro. Again, I agree with Lloyd's analysis. I think the euro is in, I won't say dire straits, but I don't think it's going to be a strong currency anytime soon. Monthly chart is telling me that we've got a big double top here. It's also telling me that we've come off there and we're screaming out for a lower high here. It hasn't come. That makes it a little bit tricky for me. And the point that the fact that we're at potentially the bottom of that range or near to it also adds to the confusion. However, the bearish nature that I have around this suggests to me that this level could be retested easily. So if you go down to the time frames, weekly chart, big rejection of that level last week. It brought us way back into this descending channel that we've got. Again, the way I play false breaks is setting up perfectly for this. It's a giant false break, I've got to say, but we've broken out of this range, that being the descending channel. We've come back inside it. We've retested it with this bar, which was rejection bar, rejection of the weekly pivot last week, monthly pivot, rejection of the daily pivot, rejection of the weekly pivot. And I think an entry underneath that bar, which is the daily bar of Friday, makes perfect sense to me. Get some money in the bank before you hit those lows. But I think this can continue to go south and substantially go south. So euro pound is a big sell for me tomorrow. Again, caveat is if there's a gap in the market, then wait till that settles down and pick it up maybe on a different time frame. I don't know. But I think that's a trade for me tomorrow morning. If there is no gap or no substantial gap, be trading underneath that bar, and I'll put my stop loss above it, euro pound short. So that is my look at the technical charts for the week, and that kind of wraps the show for the week as well. Thank you all to all the presenters that have participated and shared their knowledge. I think this is really a valuable hour of I was going to call it television, because I used to work in television, but I think it's a very valuable hour, and I pick up a whole heap of stuff in this hour, and I hope you do too. We look forward to your company next week when we'll do it all again. So it's bye-bye for now. See ya.